I'm here today at Keter Torah in Teaneck, fondly known as Roemer, headed by the illustrious Rabbi Shalom Baum, former president of the Rabbinical Council of America. He actually brought me on as vice president for West Coast when I was up in Western Canada. And Rabbi Baum and I have been wonderful friends for years, and now we call Keter Torah our shul. We're living in New Milford, and Keter Torah is on the border of Teaneck and New Milford. So thank you to Keter Torah. Now let's go and learn some Transformative Daf.
Good evening, everyone. We have a very special treat tonight, just for a few minutes, to hear Rabbi Daniel Friedman, who's a member and Mechaber Svarim. He's going to talk about today's Daf. He's on a national tour, going to different shuls, speaking for a few minutes to Mincha Marav. Come on up. If it's well received, we'll have you speak every night of No Yeshiva Week.
Thank you, Rabbi Bauman. Yashikach to the entire congregation for welcoming us. We've just moved in here a few months ago. I know many of you, those who I don't know, I would love to meet. Thank you, Rabbi Wein. Thank you, Rabbi Israeli. It's just learning Torah from these illustrious rabbis every week, every evening is just something very special. Today, we are in Moed Katan. We are Daf Zayin. And I'd like to begin with a story. So Professor Moshe Gomery, I know we have some radiologists in the congregation here, so is a neuroradiologist at Hadassah Medical Center. He once asked Tzitz Eliezer, Rabbi Eliezer Waldenberg, a question about moving. He wanted to move from the old city in Jerusalem to Efrat, but he was worried about traveling on Shabbos. He knew that if there's a medical emergency, he can travel for Pekuach Nefesh, but once the patient was taken care of, would he be able to get back? He'd heard from some of the other doctors in Efrat that it's okay, that Rav Moshe Feinstein says that you can return from a medical emergency. He wanted to know from Tzitz Eliezer, is this something that is universally acceptable, or is this Rav Moshe's Das Yachid? Says the Gemara, if you have a wall that is leaning precariously into the public thoroughfare, you can demolish it and rebuild it as usual, even during Chol HaMoed. So the beginning of Moed Katan deals with the laws of Chol HaMoed. We know we are to desist from work that's unnecessary, but here it is necessary because it is a danger. So asks the Gemara, Lista v'lo livna. So why don't we just destroy it? Why do we need to rebuild it? That seems to be unnecessary. Says the Gemara, Imkein mimna v'lo soser. Problem is that a person won't destroy it. They want to be able to protect their property. So if they see it leaning in and they're worried they won't be able to rebuild it, so they will hold off until after Yom Tov when they'll be able to rebuild it. We don't want such a dangerous situation. Therefore, we allow him to both destroy it and rebuild it. So I want you to picture the situation. Shimon's walking along the street. He sees Ruvain in the middle of Chol HaMoed building his fence, and he says, what's going on here? He says, I got a heter from the rabbi to rebuild my wall now because it was falling, so I had to destroy it, I had to rebuild it. Anyway, a couple of years later, Shimon's wall is a little, and he says to himself, it's just before Pesach, he says to himself, I really need to fix this wall, but wait a sec. I can't do it over Pesach, I've got so many other things to do. I have to, what we do, iron my kittel, I have to buy the Afikomen presents. But I can do it during Chol HaMoed. Chol HaMoed, I don't have to go to work. I've got all this extra time. Chol HaMoed comes along, and there he is sawing and cutting and painting a beautiful, gorgeous new fence. Was he allowed to do that? Well, strictly speaking, yes, there is a heter to do that during Chol HaMoed. Strict letter of the law. Spirit of the law, probably not so much. He could have done it before. He pushed it off till then when you are allowed to do it because he thought that he has a heter. Now, what is a heter? Oftentimes we think the heter permissible. Heter oftentimes means a concession. Concession doesn't mean that it's the ideal. We've come off the back of a pandemic now, Be'ezras Hashem. Please God, we've seen the back of it. We've come from England. England's now, just as of today, taken off all the restrictions. Please God is behind us. But during the pandemic, we had all sorts of heterim, shorter Yom Kippur services, things that we were maybe allowed to eat on Pesach, unsupervised, other times that we could daven, things that we could skip. And we'd say, wait a second, rabbis, we could do it then. Can't we just do it going forward? Why do we need to sit in shul all day Yom Kippur? Answer is, it's a heter. A heter doesn't mean that we normalize it. You go into some shuls and they're davening mincha late and mariv early and all sorts of various things. I know one shul where routinely they hand the kid a sefer to be minyan man. Oh, you can do that. You're allowed to. No, it's a heter. It's a concession. So what we constantly need to ask ourselves in our lives is, what's ideal? What's ideal Judaism and what's concession Judaism? What heterim are we taking advantage of that may or may not be the ideal way of doing things? Says the Tzitz Eliezer. Tzitz Eliezer says to this doctor, Professor Gomri, he says, what are the alternatives? He says, well, Rebbe, if you tell me that I cannot travel, then I'll just stay here in the old city. I won't move. Tzitz Eliezer says, well, in that case, that's what you should be doing. Stay there in the old city. No need to move to Efrat. Friends, let's practice ideal Judaism. Concessions are for train tickets. And may you all be blessed with a transformative day. Thank you.